Welcome, everyone. We're here with another fascinating interview with Joel Salatin. And if you haven't read his books, you need to. They're awesome. There's a situation that we want to talk about right now. So, welcome, Joel. Can you tell us a little bit about the situation that's happening with small farmers right now in the relationship to selling food?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Eric, and thank you for having me on. It's a real pleasure and an honor to be with you. When you walk into a Walmart or a supermarket, it's easy to assume that, well, good grief, the cornucopia is here. I can have anything I want. And the fact is that all the food in a supermarket is carefully sanctioned, if you will, or licensed by a labyrinth of government regulations, not just food regulations, but zoning regulations and all sorts of things that make it very difficult for especially small farmers to come in. I remember one time I had a bunch of vice presidents from, I think it was Sam's Club, either Sam's Club or Costco. The nine vice presidents were on a kind of a nature tour around the East Coast. They'd come from Arkansas, where their headquarters is, and we were one of their stops. They were going to spend the day out on the Chesapeake Bay and things, and I gave them a farm tour. We're having lunch in the sales building there, and they asked me, well, they were totally impressed. They got it. They got ecological farming. They got earthworms. I mean, it all resonated. Animal welfare, those sorts of things. And they asked me, well, how do we get your stuff into a Costco or a Walmart or whatever? And I said, well, the first thing you have to do is allow a truck smaller than a tractor trailer to back up to your loading dock. Dr. Eric, end of discussion. That was it.
Wow.
They could not even go anywhere. So that's not government regulations. That's just the system. The system is is conceived and continues to evolve to protect the powerful interests that are there. And I'm not going to suggest it's a conspiracy. I'm not even sure that a lot of these people know the impact of their policies, like not letting a one-ton truck back up to the dock. I mean, I could tell by these folks' expression, the thought never occurred to them. Oh, well, a small farmer would have trouble coming in a tractor trailer. I don't think it ever crossed their mind. It's a different world. And so I don't like to use the word conspiracy or evil intent. I think a lot of this stuff just happens because people aren't thinking about it, and it just is what it is. But the fact is that there are many things. If you start thinking about, wonder what it'd be like to have a truly artisanal craft cheese, for example, made by a local farmer with unpasteurized milk. What would it be like to have a homemade pepperoni, bologna, charcuterie made by an artisanal pork producer that the pigs ran outside, ate grass and acorns, and this person made these real specialty, Polish sausage and things.
Mm-hmm.
But that none of that exists. In fact, in Virginia right now, there is not. If as a small farmer, if I want to make and sell a hot dog, I mean a good hot dog, not scrapings off the floor somewhere, but a good all meat hot dog with no fillers, no junk in it, just beef and pork, and that's it.
Yeah.
There is not a place in Virginia that can make a legal hot dog that I can sell.
Unbelievable. Incredible.
So in order for me to sell a hot dog, I have to ship, boneless product up to Pennsylvania and pay a large facility there to make our hot dogs and then ship them back to ourselves.
Wow. Wow.
And then of course that makes the price of the food a little bit higher. So then you get accused of being, oh, you're a food elitist. Look at your prices. Well,
yeah.
When I have to
Yeah, I just, I want to support a local farmer, a small farmer that's doing it right, because that's the type of food I want to eat. But it's becoming very difficult to get that food. And I can see why, all the regulations and the support for the bigger industry. So it's making it harder and harder. One of the things that you're doing is you're having a conference with a bunch of farmers that are very creative, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that solution?
Yeah. So the Rogue Food Conference was started about 4 years ago, and John Moody and I kind of started it. I'd been wanting to do this for years, but I needed a manager sidekick. I'm a visionary. Okay. I'm a dreamer. I'm out here in la la land. And I need a stage manager, I can conceive the theme and the story, but I'm not the guy to actually run the stage. And so John Moody came along. He said, yeah, I'll do that. And so we launched the first one in the spring of 2020, literally 1 week before the lockdown started. And the theme is circumvention, not compliance. What happens, Dr. Eric, is that when regulations become so onerous that they prohibit competition coming to the table, to the marketplace table, there comes a time when it's actually more efficient to figure out a circumventive way, an end run, than it is to try to run up through the middle with and agree to comply with everything. And so we started looking around the country, said, where are the people that have figured out how to do this, how to make an end run? And lo and behold, there are a bunch of them. I mean,
wow.
Not myriads by any means, but there's enough to actually create a nascent movement. So this will be our 7th or 8th Rogue Food Conference. It's going to be here in Virginia. We're going to be hosting it at our farm, and we'll be showcasing people. And what we've been doing is showcasing ideas and people. So let me give you a couple of examples. One is a lady in North Carolina that has started a 501c3 food church. You join her church, you get the food, and her her protection is freedom of religion.
Wow.
It's my religion that I'm to take care of my body. It actually doesn't belong to me. It belongs to God. And it's not supposed to have junk. And so in order for it to not get junk, in other words, it's part of the whole, the whole religious experience. Okay. So that's one example. And the state, North Carolina, has tried to shut her down. She's had as many as six food police cars. I call them food police. Parked outside her warehouse there, and they can't touch her. She said, you have no jurisdiction here. This is, freedom of religion. And
wow.
and so far she's winning that argument. There's a guy in Florida who has gone under the pet food regulation. So about 8-9 years ago, he was raided for selling unlicensed dairy products. So he was milking cows and selling ice cream and kefir and yogurt and milk and butter, completely unlicensed. But his customers were thrilled. The stuff was unbelievably good, and they felt better, and people wanted it, and so he was selling it. Well, he got busted, as they say. He got busted, and so as a result, working with the Farm to Consumer Legal Defense Fund, which is a group of attorneys that kind of like the Homeschool Legal Defense Association, they got the Florida bureaucracy to craft pet food licenses that you could license any food for $25 and register it as a pet food.
I love
and
it.
so he licenses milk and kefir and yogurt, $25 a piece as a pet food, and now sells food not for human consumption. Eric, within 1 year of that new, kind of new policy going into effect, 12 full-time raw milk dairies sprang up in Florida. And I was down there about 2 years later doing some kind of local foodie talks in Gainesville, Tallahassee, Orlando, some of the big cities. And it was interesting. These young, Generation Z, 30-year-old, urban foodies said, hey, we know where the good stuff is. The good stuff is the pet food. And that had completely permeated the local food movement.
Wow.
So, that's another one.
That's great.
The lady in Minnesota that went under the fish bait code. So she was taking cheese. She was taking cheese actually she was in Wisconsin, taking cheese in the Minneapolis farmers market, and she got busted for, unlicensed cheese. And so she called the state and said, is there a law? Is there some rule about fish bait? There are a lot of fishing up in Wisconsin, Minnesota, all the Great Lakes. What regulations do they have? Well, not really any, just as long as it's edible. And so now she sells fish bait Colby, fish bait cheddar, fish bait Swiss, and nobody touches her.
Oh my gosh.
There's the private membership association. That's a real hot item. And at this conference, we're actually going to have a public debate. There are defenders and detractors of the private membership association, which is essentially I join a private member. It was developed in the 1960s in the Deep South by country clubs to not comply with the Civil Rights Act. This is not public, and so this is a private club, and we can do whatever we want. And of course, these were powerful interests, definitely prejudiced, but they created a precedent of a legal entity that is not a public thing. It's, in other words, one of the phrases that we hear is, well, we got to protect the public interest. Food safety, the public interest. But what about the private interest? What about the interest of the private?
Right.
And what if I don't want the public to agree that what if I don't want public food or food that passes public muster?
Right.
And I want private food. So that's a big one. Here's another one. This is one that's just come out through our movement. And I don't know that anybody's really doing this, but I think it's got some legs for somebody that's creative. So with the internet now, you can take all sorts of courses. You can learn how to sew and cook and fly an airplane and, whatever, make all sorts of things. So there are all these courses. Well, there are people now where you can take, for example, a butchery course, and you pay $200 or $300, and part of the textbook, the tools of the course is you get 100 pounds of meat or 50 pounds of meat. And so my customers just sign up, they pay for a course, and part of the course materials are free meat.
That is so creative.
Yeah. So the whole principle here, just to cut to the chase, where the government gets involved is in commerce. That phrase, in commerce. Well, the courts have determined specific things of what does it mean when there's a sale? What does in commerce mean? And so a lot of this, creativity is surrounding a legal way to transact a trade that does not come under the purview of commerce. Because you can give away all the stuff I've described. You can give it away You just can't sell it. In fact, you can even buy it. It's not illegal to buy it. It's only illegal to sell it.
Fascinating.
Okay?
Fascinating.
So that's what we're doing, and it's gaining legs. There are people now that are hybridizing, and I'll take a piece of this and a piece of that, and putting their own creativity. And so every we're doing 2 of these a year. The next one's here. The one in the fall is going to be in Dallas, Texas. I think the next one's going to be in Florida. We just did one in the Pacific Northwest up in Battleground, Washington, and so we're moving it around the country, and every time we have more and more people that are being successful at thwarting the bureaucracy that keeps, small producers from being able to access the market.
So if you wanted to, let's say, for example, sell pot pies from your farm, would you run into a couple barriers?
Oh man, we tried this actually about 4 years ago. We had a summer chef who so in the summer when we have our stewards, we have a summer chef who cooks for us. So our whole farm crew, there's about 25 to 27 of us, can all eat, as a family together, communally, and it's a wonderful way to end the day. And so she wanted to stay. The problem is it's only 5 months. It's May 1 to September 30. And well, what am I going to do the rest of the 7 months? So she said, I know what we'll do. Let's make pot pies. And this gal, this young lady was a graduate of the Culinary Institute of America at Hyde Park, New York. She actually had a credential. She was a diploma. And so I have always wanted to make pot pies, chicken pot pie, beef pot pie. I love pot pie, and all the permutations, shepherd's pie, all those kinds of things, pot pie. And our customers are always asking for that. We'd love to get pot pie. So let's make some. So she started down this pathway, and of course, the first thing they told her she needed was a commercial kitchen. Well, we have a pretty nice commercial kitchen here at the farm. It's not licensed. The problem was it has to have a licensed bathroom. Now, this thing is only 100 yards from our house. If she wants to go to the bathroom, she can run to our house and use the bathroom. But no, a commercial kitchen has to have an attached bathroom. I said, well, can it be a composting toilet? No, it has to be water-based, porcelain, the whole 9 yards. Well, what if I'm happy with no, it doesn't matter. And so suddenly a little trial balloon suddenly costs $40,000 of licensed lagoons and, bathroom facilities just to try a pot pie. So I got to asking them, I said, oh, wait a minute. Food trucks, I could go to Charlottesville and there's a couple food trucks over there at the UVA campus selling meat pies. They sell them all the time in Australia out of food trucks. Food truck is making meat pies. They don't have a bathroom. The inspector said, no, and that's a loophole we'd like to close, and we're trying to figure out how to do it. I said, wait a minute. Are you telling me that if I put this kitchen we have right here, if I put it on a chassis with wheels, then I wouldn't need a bathroom? He said, absolutely, that's exactly correct. But then the problem is you can't sell them off site. So if it's a food truck, you can't make food in there and sell it on off site. You can only sell it from the food truck. So we went around and around. I could go into more detail, but you get the picture here. This is all just to sell a meat pie.
I think what's happening is the vilification of the foods that have the lowest margins, like meat products and things like that, especially. I mean, I looked up how much it costs to buy some corn, the dent corn. It's $298 per metric ton. You can actually create over 6,000 boxes of cornflakes from that, which comes out to roughly about a 7,000% margin on corn. But for these other products that you have to grow, oh my gosh, it's like, like incredibly hard. So the barriers to entry. So I am all about supporting the person who's doing it right, small farmers. What about, is there something somewhere a person can go to maybe find a network or a kind of a place where they could find a place to get food locally? Is there already like maybe a database or something you have on your site, or somewhere that someone could find, like, that we take everyone and consolidate them into one place so we could find out where we could support these small farmers?
Yeah, well, I mean, there are shopping sites. I mean, I don't know if I have one right here. I can't put my hands on it, but anyway, Weston A. Price Foundation.
Okay.
Weston A. Price Foundation has the Smart Shopper's Guide. That's a wonderful one. They call it the shop heard round the world, instead of the shop heard round the world. They have that, and there are some others, but the main thing is you just start sleuthing. I mean, this is the local food scene is a kind of a subculture.
Yeah,
it's a subculture, kind of a tribal subculture, just like any other tribal subculture. And you're not going to find it if you're just perched on your couch watching Netflix and the NFL football game with a Pabst Blue Ribbon beer in your hand. Ain't going to happen. Okay. The most frustrating thing in the whole, authentic integrity food movement, as you know, it's really hard to get people to change their routine. Diet is one of the most fundamental routines we have. I like this kind of food. I like this kind of food. And so if you're going to change, it's going to take a real act of the will, an act of conviction, to make a change. And so you have to decide, I'm going to participate. I'm going to make a change. And so that doesn't happen. Fairies don't drop all that into your lap. So you have to sleuth it out. And every area has its good farmers. I mean, farmers markets are a good place to start. Talk to friends. Go see if there's some like a boutique market in your area selling local stuff. Go in and buy from them, see who's doing it, and then look them up, see where they are, see how far they are, and you can start patronizing them. It's really quite a close fraternity. I mean, if somebody asks me, like we don't grow all of our own food. We get our apples. We get about 10 bushels of apples a year from an organic orchard up about an hour and a half away from us in Front Royal, and we get those apples in and spend a couple days, making applesauce. Teresa cans, I don't know what, 80, 90 quarts, and that's our year supply of applesauce. If somebody asks me, where do I get apples? I'll tell them, go there and get them. And so there's an entire network, under the radar. It's not at Walmart. It's not at Costco. It's not at, Buy Lowe's, Piggly Wiggly, or any of the regular outfits. You're going to have to go, under the orthodoxy and find it out. But it's very much there, and trust me, it's worth the hunt.
Yeah,
it's worth the hunt.
Yeah, even like I think you're probably familiar. Are you familiar with Carnivore Snacks? That company. So they recently kind of they shut them down. I think they got reopened, but they shut them down because of their dehydrating process. They took these little shavings of carnivore meat and they just put salt and meat on it, and they said, oh yeah, you can't do that, so they just shut them down. But they kind of reopened. They had to change this and that, But I think they'll probably be contacting you or even coming to this event, because I think this is really awesome what you're doing, because you're organizing creative people to gather together, share these creative solutions, that there's always a solution so more people can do it. I think that's brilliant. And there's so many, and I know in Virginia, I'm in Virginia, there's so many homesteaders and people getting into this. I think that I'm going to definitely put the date and the location, the site down in the description. But I think when is it going to be? Next month?
It's actually, yes, next month, but we're very close to next month now.
Right.
It's May 18th, I think, I'm right on that. May 18th.
So it's April 26th today, so it's going to be May 18th.
Yeah, May 18th.
Oh, it's coming up.
So it's coming up, and of course, on that day we'll have a wonderful wood-fired sausage and egg breakfast for folks on the morning for breakfast, and then we'll have a wonderful probably chicken barbecue for lunch, directly from our farm. And I mean, it's worth coming just for the food.
Yeah.
But the fellowship. Listen, it's especially for farmers and for non-farmers looking for this kind of food. If you're a city person, sometimes you'll have a friend that would like to do this and they're stuck. And you need to be the catalyst. Say, hey, I went to this thing and there's solutions here. You don't have to spend $500,000 building this infrastructure. Let's think about a creative way here to market, so that we don't have to go through all that, because there are thousands of wannabe entrepreneurs out here in the food space ready to serve our neighbors, but we're prohibited from doing so because of these extremely high and onerous license barriers.
Yeah, I'm going to try to make it myself, because I think the key to our health is this food, this real food. And so this is kind of what I want to keep supporting, simply because you go to the grocery store, it's even hard to find food nowadays. So you have to really hunt and pick to find real good food. But this is great. I'm going to put your information down below. For those of you watching, definitely, if you can come. And if you can't come, I think there's also, you're going to put it on digital format too. You'll have a digital version of that as well, right?
It will, and it'll be out. I mean, it's not going to be streamed,
No.
but it'll be edited and it'll be out, later on.
Yeah.
And if I may, make one shameless, selfish plug.
Yeah.
If you have somebody listening and they're okay, you know what? I need to do this. I need to make this happen in my life. I need to quit buying, Tyson chicken or organic chicken that's really just in a factory confinement house. I want chickens that actually get bugs, run around in the fresh air and sunshine, and actually eat green grass and aren't just, able to look out and see green grass. We ship nationwide, and as far as I know, what we can tell, what we do is legal. But I wrote a book. Everything I want to do is illegal.
Right.
And so we're pretty high profile. So we try to stay within, but we push. We push the limits. I mean, it could be that that we're supposed to get a permit to have this gathering. Well, we've never asked for a permit, and we just go on and do it. Don't ask, don't tell. It's easier to ask forgiveness than permission, and so we just go on. And so even if you're a non-farmer, it would do you well to come and see what farmers go through trying to get good food to you, and B, learn some of the things that if you want to encourage your local farmer who's struggling in this space, you could have some options and say, here's a group, because when you don't cotton to the orthodoxy, it's lonely. And so we need the camaraderie and the fellowship and the encouragement that comes from finding other knees that haven't bowed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is our, our food at stake. So, very important. So I'll put the information down below. Hopefully everyone could make, or not everyone, of course, those who are interested, come by. And thank you, Joel, for being on here and supporting this and putting this on. I think this is an awesome, high-purpose activity.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the platform, and I look forward to our next rendezvous.
Awesome.